Welcome to Close Up on America's Business, where business, finance, and technology intersect. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with the always bubbly and energetic Ethan and from the Disabled Business Persons Association, Mr. Urban Miaris.
Hello.
Our goal on Close Up is to focus on how business, finance, and technology play into our everyday lives and make our communities a better place. We have a great show, so let's get started. Welcome, guys.
Woohoo. Thanks,
Back
Barry.
again.
We are.
So we have a good show today. We have a guest from one of our leading law firms in town today.
Wow.
And what else? What's new in the world of Eve Nasby?
Multitasking.
We just talked about that. Multitasking. Well, you can always tell when Eve is attempting to multitask. She's got her phone in her hand.
It's awful. You post something on LinkedIn, you forget to attach the picture. Now you don't know how to go back in there.
Well, the sad part is we just talked about this with our kids where, they're all your daughter's standing at the bus stop with 17 different friends and doesn't even know who's standing there because she's mixed up in the middle of her phone.
And so Urban says it makes more stress if you multitask. Right, Urban?
It does. Your brain, it's going all which ways.
That's a female brain, though. We can go, we're like spaghetti, men are like waffles. There's got to be a book out there.
Hold it. Men are from Venus. And,
No.
So now it's men are from
Mars.
Waffles and women are from spaghetti. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't talk and do anything else. I can't even walk and talk at the same time.
Okay, but women can. That's why we make great
know,
CEOs. We make great leaders. The top Fortune 100 companies that are making the most profit are all run by women. Research it.
Okay, send me an application.
Talking about women.
Yes.
I have a complaint.
Uh-oh.
Not directly to women, but to architects.
Architects.
Now, architects.
All right.
When they design buildings, I wish they would make the bathrooms. Oh, for those that don't know, I'm blind. So when I go to a restroom, they have the signs on the doors. Why don't they make them uniform with the women and the men? I mean, the women's bathroom should always be on the right and the men's bathroom always on the left. Go ahead.
Have you ever walked into the wrong bathroom?
And it's been wonderful.
You?
Especially when I had to see an eye dog. I never got kicked out of a ladies' room.
You didn't, no.
Never did. Got kicked out of a few men's rooms, but I never got kicked out of a ladies' room.
Was there some tequila in the other room earlier today?
Honestly. Let's go back to multitasking.
So.
Right. That was the opening.
Urban is multitasking. Come on.
He is. But you can sit at your desk. So there's an article on Psychology Today that I just pulled up, and it says that we don't really multitask. We just switch tasks quickly. But I don't know how many of our listeners would agree with that, especially if you're female. I mean, I think we can drive and talk on the phone and put our makeup on all at the same time. Just kidding. That was a joke.
The drive and talk I'm good with, okay? The makeup, I'm not.
Hey, I saw a guy shaving the other day.
Well, anyway, this all opened up with the beginning of a joke. And now it's been lost in translation. Well, the reason women should always be in the right, men on the left.
All right.
Is because women are always right. That's how us guys remember.
The joke.
You see, we can't multitask.
Wait, I need to pick up my phone and start working again.
Okay, all right. All right, let's go into the show.
I have news for you, though. If you're on your phone, you can't laugh at Urban's jokes, okay?
I can joke. I can laugh at anything.
I just found that out. Thank you very much.
I love Urban. You're awesome. You're a mentor to us all, and I don't know, for a person who can't multitask or doesn't multitask, starting 23 businesses as you have done, Urban, is quite a feat.
So I'll get it right one of these.
I was going to say something, but I'll gear it towards a serious topic. Okay,
right.
Urban, tell us a little bit more about how the disabled can compete in the world of business today.
The real secret in competing, when you have an obvious disability mainly, is to be anonymous in your business. It's all about your business, not you.
Wow.
I hear these stories about this person who's in a wheelchair or this person who's blind, who's running a business, and the whole focus is about their disability, not their business.
So you go to that person because they're a blind-owned business or something. That's the tout.
The business world's an able-bodied world.
Yeah.
And standing out because of a disability doesn't make your business successful unless, of course, you're selling products your consumer or your client are those with disabilities.
Right, right.
Otherwise, you've got to compete with everybody else in the able-bodied world. And I used to have 2 business cards in some of my businesses. I'd have one that would be an employee status, marketing director, customer service. And then, of course, for special occasions, I'd have president and CEO.
Special occasions.
That's
like putting your suit on.
Other presidents and CEOs, you're at a formal, you're at a White House dinner as an example.
So why did you do that? Why would you have an employee status card?
But people would say, wow, that must be a big company. They hire people with disabilities. Oh, I couldn't think of a better company to work with.
Wow.
Interesting. And it's an attitude thing, because right away you see someone with a disability, regardless, say, oh, I don't discriminate and all, something comes across your mind. You may buy from us as an emotional factor.
Right.
But you come back and buy from us, especially when you're dealing in electronics or something dealing with safety, life, health, or nutrition. It's just a psychological factor. And if you want to stay in business a long time, sit in the back room. It's a shame. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's a factor of that. That's the first. You have to give that image out there. Now, once you start winning awards and everybody knows you and all, it's a different story.
Yeah, right. But Urban, let me ask you this. If you're out there and name one of the businesses you've been in.
My goodness. Ralph Schneider's.
Okay, which was a restaurant.
A restaurant.
Okay. So, do you want people to know that, your business is run by somebody with a life-altering disability, or do you want them to not know that?
I don't want them to know that. Yeah, there was a TV show years ago called Remington Steele.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Love that show. He was handsome.
And everybody thought he was the business owner. Yet a woman ran the business.
Yes.
Yet the woman ran the business.
Right.
And that's the exact same image.
because I asked that question for a specific reason. I think about some of the businesses that I've seen, and some of this is disability related and some is not. Okay. But in one case, I sat in a workshop with an attorney who was fearful that his clients didn't want to do business with him because he was younger. Okay. And being an attorney, I would much prefer having attorneys working for me that are younger than I am, because I know they're going to be there when I'm gone. Right? On another case, there was a gal, and we all know her. I'm not going to bring it up because I don't want to embarrass her, but there was a gal that ran a business, and she was dyslexic. And she said, it scares the hell out of me to think, I'm at a disadvantage with others. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I am so proud of you, because you've overcome a disability and you've run not one but several businesses and sold them. Yeah. Okay? To me, and this is a woman who didn't go to college because she was fearful that people would know that she was dyslexic.
You can't let if you're in business, it's about the business.
Right.
Not you, not your age, not your medical condition, not your gender, not your ethnicity. Yeah. It's about your business. And focus. I refuse interviews and articles from people who want to do it based on my disability. I refuse awards. Disabled Entrepreneur of the Year. I want Entrepreneur of the Year. I don't want Disabled Entrepreneur of the Year.
Right.
I upset a lot of people with disabilities when I say that. But again, we compete every day, whether it's finding a job, whether it's running a business, or just daily life as an individual with disability, and we're competing against those without disabilities. And it's just one of those, get on my soapbox on it, and that's the way I've lived my life.
Great. You're listening to Close Up on America's Business, where business, finance, and technology meet. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts, Eve Nasby and Urban Miaris. If you want to appear on our show, just email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com. Yeah, I love seeing, people overcome their disabilities, whether the disability is a severe physical disability or it's just, something they're overcoming, anything from emotional challenges, whatever it happens to be. It gives me great respect to see somebody who is just overcome a challenge.
Yeah. If you look at dyslexic, you mentioned dyslexia, right? Yeah. So who's the most famous person with dyslexia? who started their own businesses super successful.
Wasn't it like Bill Gates or something?
Richard Branson.
Branson, that's it.
Yeah.
And these dyslexic entrepreneurs are more likely to become self-made millionaires.
The founder of Kinko.
Yeah.
He's another one.
Right. That takes away all of your excuses when you've got a leader like that. And like you, Urban, it takes away all of your excuses to succeed.
I got something, a challenge for every person thinking of starting a business as well as those in business. In your business plan, where's your chapter on what happens if I become disabled or die? Now, I know in your management summary, when you do your management section, you should have a succession chapter in there.
Right.
So what happens if something happens to you?
Right.
No one ever puts that in there because we don't think about it.
Yeah.
And you being in the insurance business, that's the biggest thing, especially with younger people. They think you're going to live forever.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. A couple of weeks back, we had Joe Strazzeri on the show. And, his whole focus is, from Founders Group, is how to create added value in the business versus more cash flow. So most people will run a business to generate, if I have more cash flow, I have more value, but when they come time to sell the business, they don't have that value. Okay, well, you create value by making yourself the most replaceable one in the company. Right? And if you do that, then what happens if I'm the most replaceable one in my company and I go out with a disability? I still keep that value, don't I? Okay? It's a huge piece.
But by the way, on the other hand, there's advantages in business with the disability.
Like
and
what?
Each disability has a different advantage if that person knows how to nurture it and develop it.
Right. So when you have a disability, you tend to be more astute in other areas. For instance, your blindness, your other senses have taken over. And dyslexic I want to go back to that because that might hinder your reading. But it strengthens all your other necessary skills.
But
right.
You don't read.
Right.
What do you do that's special, based on your abilities?
Right.
What is it about you that is above all else? And instead of trying to improve what you weak in, just focus on your abilities and hire others to do what you're weak in.
Stop blaming your disability or everything else on your inability to succeed.
Blame that's just terrible. And what I used to do and I could have done if I didn't have this, that's the way it's done. You shouldn't be in business if that's the way you think.
Yeah.
Right.
You can competition will gobble you up.
Yeah.
You're talking about an advantage, me being blind. I don't have to go to too many meetings. Everybody comes to me when I have my office. That's time management.
Yeah.
Probably that's the two biggest problems I find with individuals with disabilities, whether you're a business owner and then become disabled or you're starting a business with a disability, is that making a decision. Because of your disability, you're hesitant in making decisions. And that's the biggest weakness of anybody with a disability in life, as far as I'm concerned. Many do, to rely on others to help them make a decision. I want to go to Disneyland. Well, then just go. You can take the bus up there, even if you can't drive. There's a way to get to Disneyland, but you wait for someone else to take you. And that's a simplification of it. But in business, that's the biggest issue I find. They're hesitant or scared to make a decision.
Wow.
Right.
Really interesting.
Well, in the old days, business was all about, how many people can you touch. Now, with technology playing such a huge role in business, we don't need to touch people in a physical manner anymore. We have to be out there and touch them one way or the other, get on, whether it's the Facebooks, the LinkedIns, the Twitters, the emails, the texts, whatever it is. I mean, there's so many different ways to operate and be efficient in business. It's crazy.
It is, and no matter where you are today.
And there's a lot of free services out there all over the nation. In San Diego, we've got SCORE, which is a all volunteer team. Well, it's not volunteer, they get paid by the government.
Service Corps of Retirement Executive.
There you go. Yeah. So you've got these folks like Urban, for example, or you, Barry, who has great experience in the business world and being a successful entrepreneur, and now they're going off and volunteering their time to help young and upcoming entrepreneurs succeed, and it's free. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. If you don't know what a balance sheet is or what a business plan is, there's people out there for free that can help you.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? We talked a little bit earlier about creating that added value in the business versus more cash flow. If you create the added value, you have more cash flow that goes with it. And, that reminds me that, we need to start talking up some of the events that are going on in our community. So we have one coming up on Thursday this week.
Okay.
I believe it's at the La Jolla Marriott.
Okay.
And it's from Founders Group, and it's called Community Insights. I'll be there presenting from 7:30 to 8:30 with Ron Samuel, talking about taxes and how financial planning and tax planning tie in together. And then Joe Strazzeri and Shelley Lightfoot and Melissa Silverman are in the general session talking about succession planning and how to create great value in your business. So if anybody's interested in getting an invite to that, if you're a small business owner, I would highly recommend you join us there. Just go ahead and call me at 619-295-5920. I'm on extension 22. Or email me and I'll get you the instructions at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com.
Now, is that event free?
That event is free.
If it's free, it's for me. Do they have food?
And there's food.
Do we have a date?
We have a date. Come on, Urban. Let's go. You're going to be teaching. You don't need to go. You just need to be.
Okay, I'll leave the office.
If you come, you'll be able to see Urban and Eve together, and they won't be able to take their hands up.
Hey, you said this week, that's June what?
June the 7th.
Oh.
Thursday, June 7th.
Okay.
I have to look at the calendar because I didn't have that in front of me, but so that's a really good one. So we are getting ready for a break here, and when we come back, we have our first guest of the day. So you are listening to Close Up on America's Business, where business, finance, and technology meet. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts, Eve Nasby and Urban Miaris. We'll be right back after this short break.
And I've been taking care of business every day.
We are back. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with the always bubbly and energetic Eve Nasby and the always incredible Urban Miaris. And we're having a fun show. We have our first guest of the day.
So excited. She is so smart. She's like one of my smart friends.
Yeah, no, that's true. So, welcome Miss Katie Lepore. From Miller, Monson, Peshel, Polacek, and Hoshaw. I have to read that one because I couldn't remember it for all the tea in China.
It's quite a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
How big is your business card?
Hello, thank you for having me on your show.
Sure. Urban had the question for you. He said, how big is your business card with all those names on there?
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. We had to take out a second one now.
Wrap it around.
I've heard of taking out a second before, but not on a business card. So.
Yeah, we left a couple things off. I've got quite a background, but that's good because I'm passionate about what I do.
Great. Well, I'll give you a brief introduction here. I asked Katie to join us on the show today because she's with one of the more prestigious firms in San Diego. Miller Monson has been around for a long time. I believe it's second generation, but I'll let you tell us about that. And she has a long background as an estate planning attorney as well as a tax attorney and a CPA. And so now you have all the names and all the designations, so now you need a third card. So.
No kidding, right?
Yeah. So tell us about you and what you do and how you do it, and let's start from there.
Sure thing. So I'm at Miller Monson for short, founded by Ralph Miller, who has since passed away. But Tom Monson, the second name on that whole list of names there, is still here, and he started as a law clerk. Oh gosh, ages and ages ago. And several of the partners have been here together since before I was born. So we are a boutique estate planning, tax, we do have litigation folks here, we'll do business, a little bit of real estate, and it's just a good environment. We're very collaborative, and between everybody here, there's a lot of experience, and they're just overall just good people is one of the main reasons why I came to join the firm.
Great.
But yeah, you said my background. So my background is as a CPA initially. So I did my bachelor's in accounting and I did my master's in tax, both out of a business school. So it's more of I had economic classes, finance classes, those sorts of things. And I went to work at one of the big four firms up in Los Angeles, and got my CPA license while I was there, took all those exams and got some really great experience, mostly preparing tax returns. Decided that it wasn't enough for me, and so I went to law school for lucky degree number 3, and took a bunch of tax classes because I knew I wanted to go into estate planning and tax from the get-go. And since in law school you have to take contracts and torts and criminal law and all these sorts of things to be able to pass the bar exam. I went on and did a 4th degree. I did my LLM at Georgetown Law in D.C.
Wow.
In tax and estate planning, which is just a very specialized 1-year intensive study in a certain area of law. So I didn't have to take all those more general sorts of classes that won't really enhance my practice much. And after that, came back to sunny San Diego, and here I am. I've been at the firm for just about a year now.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit. What would you say is one of the most trending topics right now in tax planning, estate planning, everything that you do? What would you say is one of the most trending things?
Yeah, well, I don't know how up to date or how much you follow the tax laws, but just in December of 2017, Congress passed the I guess it's informally called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which made a lot of major changes, overhauled the tax code. But one of which directly impacts our business here is they increased the lifetime exemption for estate tax filings to up to, I think it's $11.18 million a person.
Right.
So that means a person can die with over $11 million or a couple together with $22 million before they're subject to estate tax.
Wow.
And several years ago, it used to be you got hit with a very large 40% estate tax at a much lower dollar threshold as well. So clients were originally concerned about trying to avoid estate taxes and doing all things that they could to create family partnerships and sub-trusts and gifting and sort of things to try to minimize their value of wealth that they own at death, versus now it's more important to save on income taxes, which are going to have a higher burden and more likelihood of hitting people. So it's sort of a trend of now we are trying to undo some of those planning that took place before and allow clients to get a step up in basis on their assets. Right. Which is more important now to try to minimize.
Tell our listeners what you mean by step up in basis.
Yeah, so a basis is what you basically bought the property for. So in your home, it would be what you paid for it plus any major improvements you put into it. In share of a stock, it's going to be what you purchased for it originally. And then these things, of course, fluctuate in value year to year. The real estate market has its ups and downs. Stock market has its ups and downs. And then, but you're not taxed each year on those increases or decreases. You're only taxed upon sale. So you would then take, once you sell the asset, you take the selling price and you subtract out your basis, and that equals your capital gain or loss if it's negative. Right. So people originally were trying to avoid estate taxes at all costs, but they didn't really have a concern for whatever my basis is, that's fine, whatever. Try to save the 40% estate tax. But now, if you hold an asset at your death, your basis in your asset gets stepped up to fair market value at the date of death. So maybe grandma bought shares in some up-and-coming corporation for pennies. And originally, if she were to sell it, if it's worth a lot, there'd be huge gains in there. So grandma holds it until she dies. Her basis of pennies gets stepped up to the fair market value that it's worth as of the date of her death, so that her heirs can then inherit it with a much higher basis, thereby lowering the capital gain.
Right. Interesting.
Upon eventual sale. So it's more of it's an income tax consideration versus if you gift a property, you take a carryover basis, it's called. So if grandma gifted you those shares while she was alive, the person she gives it to takes her basis, kind of steps into her shoes and gets pennies. So so that is the sort of growing trend right now is trying to avoid that, trying to avoid property tax reassessment. A lot of people were putting assets into an entity to try to avoid estate taxes, but now it's more of a consideration of if the property is in an entity, it might get reassessed upon death of the owner versus if they hold it individually. Maybe there's some exclusion we can use to save it from property tax. So it's more of when the laws change, so do people's estate plans, and what was the right thing then might not be the right thing now, and these laws are in effect for, I think, the next 10 years.
Right.
That's great.
Right. Yeah. So you're listening to Close Up on America's Business, where business, finance, and technology meet. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts Eve Nasby and Urban Miaris, and our guest is Katie Lepore. If you want to appear on our show, just email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com. So Katie, I've got a question for you. You know, number one, I think one of the biggest things people relate to in what you're talking about is mostly real estate. So if grandma bought the home for $10,000, you know, many years ago, and she's lived in it all these years, and now the property's worth $1 million, okay? You know, what happens if she sells it the day before she dies? There's all the capital gain that is applied in that case. But if she passes it on to her children and her children sell it after she dies, you know, there's a big difference in that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Exactly. So that gets to what I was talking about, the basis. If she bought it for $10,000, she can have a $10,000 basis, and then she sells it for, what did you say, $1 million?
Right.
That's a huge differential between the selling price and the basis. So if she were to gift it during life to her kids, they are going to take her carryover $10,000 basis. But if she holds it until death, they will inherit it at the fair market value. So if they were to turn around, clean it out, fix it up maybe a little bit, slap on a fresh coat of paint, and then turn around and sell it, ideally there will be very little or no capital gains tax at that point.
Yep, and the tax savings that they would get in that, just as a rough number, you know, you're talking about capital gains at 20% plus California, if they're in California, at another, you know, 10 or 15% plus the Medicare tax and all that. You're talking about a lot of money in tax savings by doing it the right way.
You are, absolutely. And as I was saying, that home, so for property tax purposes, if it was only because California has Prop 13, you know, property tax values can only increase a small percentage each year. So if she bought it at $10,000 and maybe it's only gone up, and maybe for property tax purposes it's only worth, I don't know, $500,000 say, but fair market value is $1 million. If she uses one of her exclusions, if she gives it to one of her children at her death, you can file a parent-child exclusion, and that means the person inherits it with grandma's basis for property tax purposes. So it does not get fully reassessed, and that could have huge dollar amounts.
Right.
You go from paying property taxes on $500,000 of property to all of a sudden paying property taxes on $1 million of property.
Right.
It often gets overlooked by people, and it could represent significant dollar amounts.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, the interesting part to me is, and I know we went through this in, I think it was 2010, they put that law on a sunset provision, which means that the law goes away and we go back to what we had before, and that's in what, 2025, is it?
That could be right.
Yeah. So you know, I remember in 2010, you know, the talk, which was in poor taste, but the talk was, you know, in 2010 or 2009 was the year for you to die if you wanted to die.
Yeah, 2010 estate tax was repealed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then they came back the next year.
Step up in basis that year.
Right.
So you save on the estate tax, but you're paying later on the income taxes.
Right.
So they got you coming or going.
Yeah. So.
And that's the reason why estate planning is so important too. If grandma doesn't hold it in a trust at her death, or in an entity, or some pay on death, or it doesn't have any kind of proper planning in place, her estate could be subject to probate at the time of her death, which is a very long, drawn-out process, even if there's no argument between heirs.
Yes, I know. I resemble that remark. My dad passed away in 2014, and he had a relatively low amount of assets, but it was still 2.5 years. Because well, I won't go into family business, but it was 2.5 years in probate that shouldn't have been. So anyway. So
what are some of the biggest mistakes that folks make in not getting their estate planning and all this stuff together?
Yeah, so a lot of people will draft the plan, but then they won't update it. Or I would probably say the most common thing that I would see is they draft the plan and they create a trust, but they don't ever fund the trust.
What does that mean?
That means
put your assets in the trust.
You go to Citibank, you go to Wells Fargo, you keep your money in savings, and you have your payroll deposited and whatnot, and it's just in your name as an individual, right, under your Social Security number. You need to put that account titled in the name of the trust for it to actually go in the trust. So you need to actually, after you've drafted the trust with an estate planner and you signed it with a notary and it's actually formed and in existence, you need to go back to Wells Fargo or Citibank and say, hey, can you transfer it to not just me as an individual, but me as trustee of my trust, so that the title actually changes to be in the name of the trust.
So those are your bank accounts, checking, savings. That could be your TD Ameritrade account. That's obviously your house. All of that stuff is what you're saying is a little bit of footwork.
Same thing with the home. Your home should be in the name of the trust. So the estate planner will likely draft it before you transferring it. But then a lot of times when people refinance, the underwriter makes you take it out of your home and refinance as an individual. It's hard to get a loan in the name of the trust. And then people often don't put it back into the trust. So they die in death with accounts or assets just titled in their name individually, which is what could possibly be probate, which is that long, drawn-out process.
Well, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Katie Lepore. This is Close Up on America's Business, where business, finance, and technology meet. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. Here are my co-hosts, Eve Nasby and Urban Muir. So we'll be right back after this short break.
And I'll be taking care of business every day. Taking care of business.
We are back. I'm here, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts Eve Nasby and Urban Muiris, and our guest is Katie Lepore from, I'm just going to do the short version, from the law firm of Miller Monson.
That was easy.
Chicken.
Yeah, okay. Well, Urban, I'd let you do it, but I forgot to bring it in Braille, okay? So, anyway. So, Katie, tell our listeners real quick, how do they get in touch with you if they have some questions?
Absolutely. I'm based out of downtown San Diego. You can look us up on our website. It's mmpth.com for Miller, Monson, Peshel, Polacek, and Hoshaw. And there you'll find my email address and a short biography of myself and my colleagues who also have some very incredible backgrounds and experiences as well.
So one of the things that Eve brought up on our break was the misnomer in the public is that estate planning is there for only the rich and famous. And that's not really the case, is it?
No, that is a very common misnomer. You're absolutely right. So I can only speak to California laws, being that I'm licensed in California. And currently the probate laws are if you have $150,000 of assets or less upon your death, you do not have to go through probate, that your heirs can just sort of figure it out for themselves, so long as there's no disagreements or anything that requires going to court. But in California, $150,000 is a pretty minimal dollar amount.
Right.
It basically means if you're a homeowner, you should have an estate plan, even if you're not in the millions of dollars. There is definitely a misconception that a trust is for the rich and the famous. And there are certain kinds of trusts out there that might be more specific to those with wealth, but the types of family trusts or living trusts, as they're usually commonly called, are very common and are things that largely anybody should really have. I already did mine several years ago, and I'm pretty young, and like, for instance, some of my parents have an estate plan, and they're not really wealthy or anything. It's just a way of having all your affairs in line, being able to save your heirs from having to go through that process of probate upon your death, which is just very long and drawn out and expensive, quite frankly,
Right.
unless it gives you the opportunity to sort of leave your assets as you wish. If you really want that pearl necklace to go to your cousin Susie, well, you can put that in your estate plan or your golf clubs or whatnot. Maybe you only want your kids to get your assets upon reaching age 30, or you really in a trust can sort of specialize it and tailor it to your desires.
Yeah, interesting. I was just thinking about, I had lunch with one of your colleagues at the firm, and they talked a lot about the IRA beneficiary trusts, which I think is important too, because, there are a lot of people today that have grown a lot of assets in their retirement plan, and they don't spend all those assets during their lifetime. So tell us a little bit about what is an IRA beneficiary trust and how can it help?
Yeah, so you must have met with Brad from our office,
I
Brad
did.
Dewan.
Yep.
He is one of the leading experts in San Diego and, dare I say, nationwide on sort of retirement planning, and he will even do business trusts that you can sort of have your retirement accounts. I've been dealing with it more so on a side of people who have real estate holdings,
Right.
and either want to purchase real estate within their retirement account because they find real estate to be a more steady, stable investment and to have regular cash flows from rent. has been a popular choice, or I see it people who do real estate full time and therefore don't have any sort of earned income from a regular W-2 job and want to create a retirement account. Well, you're limited to be able to put money pre-tax into a retirement account based on how much earned income you have. So
Right.
we structure their real estate holdings in such a way so that they have some sort of earned income to be able to start a retirement account.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because for years I've dealt with self-directed IRAs and self-directed, 401ks, that type of thing. And most people don't realize that if they want to put real estate inside of a retirement plan, they just have to structure it so they have the right type of custodian. It's a little bit more expensive to do it, but it's very, modestly more expensive. And, they can do whatever they want. And, there's so many options out there that, I'm going to kind of lead the conversation in more of a self-serving way here is I think that what people have to understand is they need to build a collaborative team to work with. So, if Katie Lepore is going to be their attorney / accountant or tax advisor, from one standpoint, they need to make sure that Katie is well in tune with whoever their financial planner is and whoever their other financial advisors are, their tax preparer and what have you. What can you add to that, Katie?
Oh, that I would reiterate that very much so. We work hand in hand with the CPAs very closely, and if they have a financial planner, we will do that as well. Oftentimes, the financial planner or their CPA also may serve as a future trustee under their documents or healthcare directives or that sort of thing if they've been working with them for a long time. So making sure the left hand knows what the right hand is doing is very important to have a smooth process and have all your affairs in line. And oftentimes if we come up with something with the client, we will run it by their CPA or their financial planner first. It's another set of eyes, another idea, and maybe they know something is in the works that we don't know. These things can be very complex for clients.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will share with an attorney versus their financial planner versus their tax person. There's one person usually gets that trusted relationship, and the others have to follow suit. So putting everybody on the same page is just incredibly important today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Sometimes the CPA is the go-to person, and sometimes it's someone they see every April 15th, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Katie, give us a good story of how you were able to help an individual or a family in a time of crisis.
Gosh, where do I start? I see a lot of different things. You'd be surprised what money does to people.
No, I wouldn't.
Tell me about it.
For another time.
Right.
I would say one of the most interesting things I worked on here at the firm was sort of alongside what we had discussed. Grandma bought beachfront property in La Jolla, back in the dinosaur age, for pennies on the dollar. And now Grandma's in her 90s, and her kids are in her 70s, and her grands are in their 40s and 50s. And this property has skyrocketed in value. It is worth an enormous amount. So as we were saying, there's income tax issues, there's estate tax issues because she's from a wealthy estate, there's property tax issues, and then you also have sort of foresee. So Grandma did not want them to sell the house. She wants them to keep it in the family. She wants her grandkids to be able to come there, relax. She's got 10, 11 grandkids. So first of all, how does she hold it? How do you minimize tax consequences? And then how do you kind of come up with a structure so that all grandkids aren't fighting over who gets it on the 4th of July?
Right.
And so what we ended up doing, we tossed around a lot of ideas, but we ended up putting it in a trust. And then the provisions of the trust, we just made them very custom in laying out how do they decide who gets what week, when does the week start, can they rent it out?
Wow.
What if there's repairs that need to be done? How are you going to fund the property taxes and the ongoing maintenance? And is there going to be a cash reserve? What if one of them needs money? Can they buy out? Can they sell to another cousin? One of the cousins lives on the East Coast. Are they really ever going to use it? But Grandma wants everybody treated equally. And it was really a sort of test
complex.
Of, can we predict the future, and can we account for all these sorts of things and have a governing document that really, so Grandma knows her wishes are going to be come true in the future.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fabulous. So, hey, Katie, I really appreciate you being with us. Again, tell our listeners one last time, how do they get in touch with you if they have any questions?
Sure. Katie Lepore Lepore. You can reach me at mmpph.com. That's Mary, Paul, Henry. Or 619-239-7777.
I got a last question for you, Katie. Can I ask her a question?
Yes.
So I see on your profile on your website that you enjoy attending baseball games and you aim to see a game at every Major League Baseball stadium. Have you achieved your goal yet?
I think I've got 7 down.
7? A few more to go.
It means that's about what are there, 30 teams out there? So
Yeah, 30 total. I've toured a couple more, but I was there in the off season, so it doesn't quite count. I'll have to get back to Wrigley in Philadelphia one day for the actual game.
Okay.
Take us with you.
Well, if you go to Philadelphia, let me know. I'll give you the guided tour around the city.
No, don't do it, because he's connected with Mafioso back there. So go with me, Katie. I'll take you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, we just ended this show. You know that. Now they know. So.
As long as you can tell me where to go to good Philly cheesesteak, that's good with me.
And the pretzels.
Yep. The pretzels, and you can go to the oldest restaurant in the country called the City Tavern right down there in Old City.
Yep.
And it's a restaurant that all the dignitaries back in the 1700s used to go to. You know,
my goodness.
Washington, Jefferson.
Sure give you a call then, Barry.
Yep, she's a U.S. history buff too, so
cool.
You're going to be in your element.
Yeah, you will. So, hey, thanks for being with us, Katie.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Take care.
Great, thank you. So anyway, that was a good interview. We're just about out of time, but I wanted to make a correction from what we had earlier.
July 7th.
July 7th.
Or 6th. 5th.
Let's
Take June
start this over again.
And do July 5th.
June the 7th was already done. I was looking at the wrong date, and we're looking at July the 5th.
Yes.
Thursday, July the 5th. Community Insights, and on July the 5th, we will be at the San Diego Marriott Del Mar for Community Insights. If you are a small business owner and want to learn how to create much greater value added to your business, come see us. You can get on, just look up Community Insights or Commons, COMINS, -TFG.com. Call over to the office at 858-200-1915 to register in. And if you want to get to me, bwaxler at barrywaxler.com. I'll get you into our private breakout session ahead of time with me and Ron Samuel. We do a good conversation on tax and financial planning. Also, we have another event coming up here. California Forum is coming up on the 21st of June. So call me and I'll tell you all about it and get you information on the speakers and what have you. This is great financial stuff. So anyway, guys, we've had a fun show today.
We have, as usual.
Interesting. I'm just in shock listening to the estate planning.
Yeah.
On that.
Did you hear anything that you need to make note of?
Yeah. You know, I wanted to ask a number of questions, and I didn't think it would be appropriate if it would take too much time. I mean, we could be on for 3 hours talking about estate planning.
So true.
But an example would be with the military coming out, the from those active duty, San Diego and Maynard, estate planning is needed for them. I don't know if they cover that in TAPS. If they cover estate
They probably
planning.
throw a brochure at them and say, if you need information, call.
Read here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt they have somebody like Barry come in and talk about it, or like Katie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? There's so much opportunity to talk about a lot of stuff, and you know, our listeners are always welcome to call me. And you know, what we don't do frequently is we don't put out our own contact information. So I'm going to say, if you want to contact me, I put this up all the time. Just email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com. You can always call me at 619-295-5920. I'm on extension 22, and I'll be happy to connect you up with anybody that's been on our show. I love the role of connector. Okay,
You're good at it.
Thank you. So, you know, Eve, how do people get in touch with you?
Man, you guys can go on eve@infused.org. It's EVE at infused, INFUSED.WORK, and you can reach me there.
Great. Urban, what about you?
Contact Barry Waxler.
The secretary?
No, you can email me at urban, that's URB as in boy, AN, at disabledbusiness, all one word, .com.
Great. So it's been a great show. I look forward to getting together with you guys again next week.
We can't wait.
So you have been listening to Close Up on America's Business, the show that brings business, finance, and technology together to make a positive impact on our community. If you want to be a guest on our show, call me at 619-295-5920, extension 22, or you can just email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com. It's been a fun show today. Join us again next week for more Close Up. Thanks for listening.
Taking care of business.